Hey mate, welcome to Brave Tarot. I've got a pretty strange reading today, if I'm honest. It might be a little bit convoluted to explain, like the way the imagery is coming through. I want to share it with you so that you really understand. But this is for a person who is in a season of their life, right, where you feel the really strong urge to reconnect to something you used to have. It feels a lot like this is to do with friendship and community, like you're a person who's isolated for a really long time and now you're suddenly in this season where you really want friends. It could be also sex. That's coming up a lot, but it could be anything. But I'm just going to go with friends as the example. And what I'm seeing is that these urges are all coming up and it almost feels like out of control. Like it's so much energy that you're like, fuck, get me out of here. Whatever I've decided to do right now or wherever I've put myself in this moment, forget it all. All I want is friends. I'll do anything to go back to how it was before even. And maybe you're forgetting why you gave up all those securities of the past. Now I'll share with you the image and how I'm seeing it. So I think I've mentioned this before, but whenever I channel for Brave, I go to this realm in my mind's eye where we're all standing in this huge dramatic dust bowl, kind of like Mad Max or something. And I will be on a megaphone in the dust bowl and I'm like calling everyone who wants a reading today. And then all the people come forward and I can feel their energy. And then I see a scene unfolding in the middle of the arena. And in today's scene, I saw this huge blue plume of smoke. So it was like bright, pure ultramarine is kind of the color that it was, like a blue smoke that was just relentless and it was covering everybody's head and you couldn't see anything. And I was trying to find out what is this blue. The only thing that was coming up is that blue signals communication. It's the color of the throat chakra. And so it was like, well, this overwhelming message is telling you that it's time to communicate, that you need to communicate with other people. That's the obvious signal, right? And then as the scene unfolds, the person who represents the querent, the person who's stepping forward for a reading, that person was wearing a helmet, like a, why can't I get the word? What's the word I'm looking for? The person who goes to the moon, an astronaut, like an astronaut's hat. So it was kind of like a gas mask, but they had like this glass helmet over their head so they weren't breathing in the fumes of this blue gas. And then as they stepped up closer, they took the hat off, but this signaled that the gas was full of poison. And so what I got from that message was that you're being told by this huge, vast instinct to go and communicate, to go and find dates, to go and apply for jobs, to go and have sex, whatever. And prior to then, you were in this glass bubble, this helmet that was actually really healthy for you. And in that space, you can't talk to other people, but you are slowly gathering yourself into a frequency where this is the part that's really interesting. It feels like whatever season you've been in of removal or of abstinence, like taking something away from yourself, has given you a deepened sense that you might not even be aware of this yet, of how to love everything as a whole more than you did before. Because once everything's been taken away, you find little ways to enjoy what you have. And there's something in moving your consciousness from obsessing over particular things and the forms of the 3D and how they come to the actual feeling state behind everything, and learning to move through the world in frequencies rather than appearances. And community and friendship is a really interesting example of this, because you look cool if you have a lot of friends. You fit in if you have a lot of friends. You are socially prized, and people warm to you more easily than if you're alone. But having those friends doesn't necessarily mean that you feel more at home or more in company. It really depends who the friends are. And if you're in a season where you removed yourself from your friends of the past, off an instinct that was true at one point in time, it means that those friends weren't right for you. Or if you stopped having sex, it means that there was something occurring in the act that made you so badly want to remove yourself because you knew there was something else to gain. And what I'm seeing about this is that blue smoke, that huge signal that's running through your body and telling you, I want to give up where I am right now and chase what I used to have because that was better than where I am. That signal is actually coming from the very last screams to survive of the thing that you were trying to suffocate all that time ago. Does that make sense? So that signal in this reading is showing me that it's not an innate signal. You know, like blue smoke is not a natural thing. There's nothing organic about it. It's actually an impulse coming from your body as you starve out the very habits that were negative and that were causing you suffering such a long time ago that you can't even remember its feeling. And it's parading as something real. But in actual fact, it is trying to take you off course. And then I see it's like, you know, when you haven't used a tap in a really long time and the water runs brown before it runs clear? It's like that. It's this haywire moment of the water running brown while you are encouraged to continue persisting, abstaining from these quick pleasures, even though, of course, sex and friendship are deeply human needs and you're very justified in wanting them and deserving them. But there's something about the way that you are going to attract your future connections that needs you to deeply suffer. Well, not suffer, but to deeply hold it down through this time where your desire is to run to something from the past. You're being told to just hold steady and wait until that huge, endless plume of blue smoke dies out and moves past. And then you can take off your helmet and then you can interact with the people. And by then you will have learned something deep, embodied, and visceral about what it is to be alive, what it is to enjoy, and what really matters to you in connection. Because there's this tiny little screaming strand of false appearances and false reasoning to connect that is still alive in you, that is trying to pull you off course. And you might even feel like nothing good is happening in your life right now. And all you want to do is just check, like you're not seeing any benefits of this time. But there's something happening at the subatomic, invisible level. You know, I was talking to a friend about this kind of thing the other day, and I was saying that I felt like for the past year of my life, God hasn't been watching me. Like God hasn't been there. And I could even use the example of this channel. Like when I got the hit to start this YouTube channel, I thought that it was going to grow in the first month the way I've made a channel before, and it grew 2 weeks into having it. And my assumption was that because I'd been given this impulse to start the channel, that it would just blow up and that would be something I could enjoy. And then it didn't happen. And I've been making readings for this channel for 3 months, 4 months, maybe even 4 months now. And there's 37 people here. And every time I make a new reading, I realize that the readings are upgrading me. And I'm totally comfortable with there being a reason why none of this is about the channel blowing up. This is about me finding the joy in the reading, even if nobody's listening. Which sounds like a big wank, I understand. Like, you want to have real world results and stuff, right? But yeah, I said to my friend, it feels like God hasn't been there. Like God disappeared. And my friend was like, what if that's the most God has ever been there? Is by leaving you alone. And you're actually being watched this whole time. But the fact that God has removed his obvious presence in your life is causing you to deepen your instinct with yourself. That just flipped everything for me. Like that it was an intentional removal of God. It's an interesting way to think about it. So basically the message of today, if you're hearing it, is abstain. Abstain from that thing that makes you want to run towards it. And just wait it out until that impulse slows a little bit, because it's trying to pull you back to an old pattern. And you might not know why this is happening yet, but you will eventually. So just hold out. That's the message of today. If you haven't subscribed already, join me here. Let's grow this thing little by little. And be brave. Check out the one-to-one readings in the link in my description box below. And I'll see you in the next reading.